Okay, so I just got watching the Expendables 4, and this is going to be my spoiler-free review on the film. And to get things rolling right off the back, I want to start off by saying what the critics and reviewers are saying about this movie. It is nowhere near as bad as what people are saying it is. Like, the film isn't perfect by any means, but so is every other movie to come out. Like, you can even look at your favorite movie of all time. I'm sure somewhere in that 2 hour runtime, there's something that you can pinpoint out of it as being something that you don't like, or it being something that is flawed in the film. Like that's just a common thing with movies now. Is every movie is going to have these mistakes, and not every movie is going to have maybe the biggest budget of all time. Not everyone's lucky enough to have like a $500 million budget. So like I would say, give this movie a fucking break. Like, while this film, okay, the CGI in this movie looks really fucking bad. Like, it is really abysmal to look at. Like, there's a sequence in this film that takes place in the desert. It's the second action scene in the film. Well, technically third, because the second one is at a bar. So this one, the second, like, official, guns blazing, big budget, kind of action scene in the film. Takes place at a desert, and from the backdrop to the cars flipping in the air, to the explosions, to the fire effects, like, it looks like a PlayStation 2 cutscene. Like, if this game was never released to the public, that's kind of how bad it looks like. Like, it is really fucking noticeable. Like, they don't even try to hide it. They don't even try to enhance the CGI, at all. It looks really fucking bad. Like, I can probably pull off a better, green screen effect than what they did in this movie. And, you know, outside of that sequence, the CGI isn't too bad. It's definitely consistent throughout the film. There's like, when there is green screen, you can definitely pinpoint that it is being filmed on a green screen. Like, they don't try to hide it. They don't try to dim the brightness to make it less noticeable. Like, it really is just as bad. It's like it's like before the movie came out, a day before it came out, it's like they just went in and added all the green screen effects last second. Like, that's the maximum amount of effort that is put into the Expendables 4. And from what I've heard, this film also had the biggest budget of of the four films. So like, that also just brings up the question on, like, why is it as bad as what it is? Like, there's a lot of good in the movie, but then it's bogged down with the CGI. I mean, CGI for me, I can take it as what it is. But with a movie like this, where when you see bad green screen, like, it takes you out of the experience. Like, you're supposed to be, immersing yourself, you're supposed to be immersing yourself into this world, and into this, action-packed, adrenaline experience that paid your movie ticket for. And just, it's like, there were just numerous times throughout the film where, I was really sucked into it. Like, I was really enjoying it. And then, a bad green screen would happen, and I would be like, it would completely, ruin that illusion that I was having. So, but you're putting that aside. I mean, it's not all bad. So, let's talk about some of the positives, because there are a lot more positives to negatives in this movie. And I think the biggest positive for me is this is probably the most action packed. This is the loudest. This is the most aggressive Expendables yet. Like, if you're here for the action, if you're here for guns blazing, if you're here for the violence, if you're here for the explosions, if you're here for the hand-to-hand combat, this film delivers in spades. Because the action in this film, it is very over the top. Like, this is like the probably like the Fast 8 of the Expendables franchise. Like, they're at this point in the franchise where they're going into that very, over the top, action eccentric, kind of film where, all logic is kind of thrown out the window, which, I would still, I would definitely say there's definitely some disbelief in the movie for sure. But I would still say, that they keep it still pretty based in reality for the most part. For the most part, like there's definitely a lot of situations in here where people should have fucking died. But I think besides that, this is still a film that it feels like an Expendables film, which I like. So, but yeah, if you're ready for the action, this film has you covered. Now, another thing I did want to talk about was the gore in this film. If you've, been up to date on the marketing for this movie, you're very much aware that they're going for a hard R rating. This film is going back to, Expendables 2, where, it was very in your face, very violent, very bloody, very gory, lots of blood and guts. This film, there's definitely violence in here. There's definitely a few blood splatters, every now and then. But I would say that this, you can definitely tell when you watch the movie that this was a movie that was filmed as a PG-13 movie. And then in post-production, they went in and added all of these, violent, gory moments. Because there's a lot of CGI blood in the film, which... yeah, do not get me started on CGI blood. Like, I've talked numerous times on my channel about how I feel about CGI blood, used in movies. It's something that it's so easy. Like, it's just, like it's corn syrup. Like, that's all you have to fucking do. And then you can create, a realistic blood effect, but practically. You don't need to fucking, computer generate that shit. So, yeah, but... yeah, there's definitely some slip throats in here for sure, but there's also a lot of missed opportunities because there's scenes when people's faces get blown off. There's scenes when grenades go off, and you don't get to see the money shot. You don't get to see the person blow up. You don't get to see the face being fucking ripped off. You don't get to see any of that. Like all of that gory goodness that you're after in an Expendables film, I wouldn't really say that's here. Which is a big missed opportunity since they were marketing that like a motherfucker for the advertising in this movie. And then this film is probably the funniest out of the four. Like, I had a great fucking time. Like, the humor in the first act, especially between Sylvester Stallone and Jason Statham, the banter these guys have, the chemistry, I think is absolutely top notch. Like, Sylvester Stallone, I think he's at his best in here. I think this is the best we've seen Sylvester Stallone since The Expendables 2. Like, I'm actually not joking. Like, he's in the film so little. He has a small role in here compared to what he did in the first three films, but he definitely has his moments to shine in here. And I found myself, laughing quite often in this movie. Like, all of the punchlines, all of the jokes, really worked in here for me, which, that's more than what I expected going in, because I really don't like the comedy, in the first three films. And also for, the new team that we have here, there's a lot of new faces in here, like Megan Fox, and, I thought what she offered to this movie, like, I thought she was really good. I thought that, I've definitely seen Megan Fox in a lot worse, and the only reason, we all have to admit here, the only reason Megan Fox is fucking in this movie is for her looks. I mean, what else are we expecting? Like, literally, like, there's a scene in this where it's like a fight sex scene. It's so fucking odd. It's like they're wrestling each other in the room, and then it turns into, like, this very, like, I don't fucking know. Like, it's such an odd scene. Like, this film really takes everything, like, out of the box. Like, it is a fucking, yeah, it's an experience, I mean, for sure. But yeah, I thought she was really good. I thought our new team of people. I thought their banter and their chemistry together was really good. The film is very self-aware, which I really like. The film knows exactly what it is. The film knows exactly what it's trying to get across to the audience, and this film is just a mindless, fun, action going experience. That's what this film is. That's what the directors are trying to get across to us. This is a film that you don't take seriously. You don't take seriously. You go to an Expendables movie, you want to see guns blazing, you want to see bodies dropping, and that's exactly what this movie has. And so I think that's something that I really appreciated in this film. Is it is everything that us Expendables fans love. Like, as much as the first two films had really good story, this film isn't so story centered. Like, there's definitely a story to keep it all intact. But this is not a story-centric film. This is a film that it's made to entertain you, and entertain it does. And yeah, there's a lot of highlight sequences, probably some of the best in the entire franchise. There's a scene at the end that I think is going to go down in this franchise as being that moment. And this film also has 50 Cent, which I'm gonna be honest, I was not a big fan of him in this movie. I really was not. Like, I did not think he really did much for this movie, just besides just adding a new face to this team. People know who 50 Cent is. If you don't know him as the worldwide phenomenon rapper, you know him, as an actor. And that's the only reason why he's in this movie. Yeah, he doesn't really show up much. He has like maybe 2 minutes of screen time minimum. And then Jason Statham is a fucking show stealer here. This motherfucker fucks people up in this movie. He puts his life on the line in this movie, and I think since he's the one that Sylvester Stallone has kind of given the torch to kind of carry this franchise, I think Jason Statham really has to kind of stand up in this movie and really sell himself as like the action hero of this franchise. Because I think where the future of the Expendables movies are going is, I don't know if we're going to be seeing more of Megan Fox. It seems like all the original people from the other movies, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and all that, like, it does not look like they're going to be making a return anytime soon. Because there's even a scene in this movie where I think it was either this one or the third. I don't know. Like, I watched the third last night, so I've kind of both movies in my head now. But there was a scene where like there's all these tags hanged up, and they're just looking at them, and it's basically like an homage and a reference to like to the old heroes that came before, and that I really liked. But this film was just entertaining. Like, I don't know really what else to say about this. Like, this film, it didn't really disappoint. Like, it gave me exactly what the marketing said it was going to be. Like, just a full-on action-packed experience. And the film, story is non-existent here, characters is non-existent. This is a film that as soon as it starts, you're instantly into the shit. And even when there's a slow moment, it tries to keep that as little screen time as possible, because it wants to get you back into the action. And this film just reminds me of just like a really cool fucking Call of Duty mission. Like, especially at the end when Jason Statham's like sneaking around and all that. It just reminded me of just like classic Call of Duty. So that I really liked in here. Yeah, like I said, all of the humor was great, all of the action was great. All of the violence, I mean, it was serviceable. But like, I mean, I feel like I'm fucking repeating myself here, but my god. But yeah, I had a great time with Expendables 4. I would definitely recommend it if you are an Expendables fan. I think you will be very happy with what this movie provides to you.